Hello everyone, and welcome to my CSU channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Chrisley cries over selling her memories. Chrisley knows best. Chrisley is crying over selling her memories. She has had a struggle over the last several years as she ended her marriage. Then, her parents went off to prison, which further alienated her from her siblings. Now, a big chapter in her life is closing, and she has all of the feelings. Keep reading to see what life-altering event is currently happening. Chrisley says goodbye to her old life. So much has happened to Chrisley over the last handful of years. She had eloped with Will Campbell in 2012, and together, they had a beautiful son, Jackson. Unfortunately, their relationship hit too many roadblocks, and they ended up calling it quits. 9 years after they initially tied the knot, they finalized their divorce. She was in a relationship with a man who appeared to make her happy, Trent Weiser, but that has since ended. Now, she's keeping some things in her life more private as she needs to protect herself. That is likely a great idea, being such a public figure with a child she adores. To add to all of this, her parents, Todd and Julie Chrisley, headed to prison in January 2023. Prior to this, they came together with her sister, Savannah Chrisley, and the family felt united. Then, Savannah turned on Lindsie, blaming her for their parents' incarceration, which was a total of 19 years. It was hard for Lindsie, but she has kept going on with her podcasts and working for her family. Now, she is making big moves, literally and figuratively. According to People, the 35-year-old has sold her home. She shared the huge news on the Thursday, November 7th episode of Coffee Convos, which she co-hosts with teen mom alum, Kaylin Lowry. While talking about it, Lindsie Chrisley had this to say. Admittedly, she was unsure if she could go into the office as she felt she looked insane. This was the home Lindsie and her son moved into after her divorce in 2021. For Lindsie Chrisley, that home signified a new chapter as she closed a very hard one. She shared how she cried and mourned her divorce in this home. Plus, she added that, "My parents were on trial when I lived there." So, significant life events revolved around the Canton, Georgia home. Luckily, after going through 15 pages, she signed the papers and it was done. In a way, there was closure in the sadness. Though everything went smoothly and she felt much better, the morning brought a whole new bucket of feelings. Lindsie suddenly was bogged down with sadness because she realized the home was never going to be hers again. It was a bittersweet morning for Lindsie Chrisley, one that began with a faint hum of packing tape and ended in tears. The daughter of Todd and Julie Chrisley, who has weathered her share of heartbreak and family estrangement, took to social media this week to reveal a deeply emotional decision. She's selling off pieces of her past. For Lindsie, these aren't just objects. They're fragments of a life that once felt whole, echoes of laughter-filled rooms, quiet nights of journaling, and the innocence of a time before family scandals and public feuds. As she shared clips of boxes being sealed and furniture wrapped, her voice cracked. "It's not about the things themselves," she admitted softly. "It's about what they represent. The people I loved, the moments I can't get back." The revelation left fans both heartbroken and inspired, as Lindsie opened up about what led her to part with the sentimental items that once filled her Atlanta home. A bittersweet goodbye. According to Lindsie, the decision didn't come easily. Over the past year, she's been quietly downsizing, trying to live more intentionally and shed the weight of emotional clutter. But it wasn't until recently, when she began sorting through her late grandmother's china and old photos with her ex-husband Will Campbell, that the magnitude of her decision hit her. "There were moments when I'd hold something in my hand, a piece of my childhood, and wonder if I was doing the right thing," Lindsie confessed in her podcast Coffee Convos. "But I realized memories don't live in objects. They live inside us." Still, letting go hasn't been easy. Some of the hardest items to part with were from her years on Chrisley Knows Best. Costumes, old scripts, and even set photos, reminders of the time when she and her family were America's picture-perfect Southern clan. Those mementos now sit neatly labeled in boxes marked for auction, each one tagged with a little handwritten note. Thank you for the memories. The emotional toll of nostalgia. Lindsie has often been candid about her struggles with anxiety and nostalgia, especially since her parents were imprisoned. Selling off old things, she explained, was part of a larger emotional cleanse. I used to think if I kept everything, I could somehow hold on to the past, she said tearfully in an Instagram story. But that's not healing. That's hiding. She went on to describe how walking through her nearly empty house brought a flood of memories. The first day she brought home her son Jackson, the countless podcast recordings she did from her home office, and even quiet nights spent crying over family drama she couldn't control. I've cried more packing than I ever expected, she said, laughing weakly through tears. But maybe that's what I needed. To cry it out. To release it all. Fans quickly rallied behind her, flooding her comments with love and support. You're so strong for doing this, one wrote. Sometimes you have to let go to grow. Another added, you're not losing memories, you're making space for new ones. Healing in letting go. The symbolic weight of this process wasn't lost on anyone who has followed Lindsie's journey. Once the golden child of a TV-famous family, she later found herself on the outside looking in after clashing with her father, Todd Chrisley. Years of public tension, hurtful interviews, and painful accusations created a rift that even time couldn't easily mend. But now, as Todd and Julie serve their prison sentences, Lindsie's focus has shifted inward. Selling her belongings isn't just a financial move, it's an act of emotional release. This is my way of saying goodbye, she explained. Goodbye to pain, to guilt, to trying to hold it all together. I want to move forward lighter. She revealed that she plans to use part of the proceeds to create something meaningful, perhaps a new podcast series or a memoir chronicling her road to forgiveness and peace. I don't want my story to end with bitterness, she added. I want it to end with grace. Interestingly, sources close to the Chrisley family say that Lindsie's emotional decision has reached her father's ears. While Todd remains behind bars, insiders claim he was deeply moved by his daughter's gesture and reportedly sent her a letter expressing pride in her growth. It's unclear whether the two have had direct contact since then, but many fans are hopeful that this symbolic purge could pave the way for reconciliation in the future. Lindsie has hinted that forgiveness, while not easy, is part of her ongoing journey. I'll never erase the past, she said, but I'm learning not to live in it. The power of starting over. After the last box was sealed, Lindsie took one final video of her now empty home. The echo of her footsteps filled the space and she whispered, "Goodbye." In that moment, fans could see it, a woman reclaiming her story, choosing peace over pain and courage over comfort. The video ended with a simple caption, "Sometimes you have to sell your memories to make room for new ones." Her honesty struck a chord with followers who faced their own heartbreaks. Many commented that her story reminded them of their own journeys of letting go, the boxes they've packed after a divorce, the homes they've left behind, or the photos they've finally been able to throw away. Lindsie's openness made them feel seen. And in turn, her vulnerability transformed what could have been a simple move into something profoundly human. Moving forward with hope. Now, as she settles into a smaller, cozier home, Lindsie says she feels freer than she has in years. Her life is quieter, no more cameras, no more scripts, just her son, and a new chapter waiting to be written. I used to think starting over meant failure, she reflected. Now I see it as grace, the gift of beginning again. Though she admits she'll miss some of the things she sold, she also feels grateful for the clarity it brought. It reminded me that I'm not defined by what I own, she said. I'm defined by what I've overcome. In the end, Lindsie's tears weren't just for what she lost. They were for everything she survived. From the heartbreak of estrangement to the pain of watching her parents go to prison, she's endured more than most would at her age. But through it all, she's emerged softer, wiser, and more at peace. As she wiped away the last of her tears, she smiled faintly and said to her followers, "Maybe this isn't goodbye. Maybe it's just hello to who I'm meant to be now." And with that, Lindsie Chrisley turned off the camera, turned out the lights, and stepped forward, leaving her memories behind but carrying her strength with her.